Grew up in a little town of Enterprise, Kansas. I was working at St. Elizabeth Hospital in Hutchinson. Well, I worked at the hospital from 1949 to 1950. I was 22 years old and I got the letter from Uncle Sam. My mother was worrywart, and she worried about which is natural for a mother to worry about it. My father died in 1938, and so she was by herself. They put us men on a troop train and sent us to Fort George G. Meade, Maryland. That's where I took basic training for about 4 months. And then we went to Seattle, Washington. Took us 3 weeks to go across the Pacific Ocean. Then this is the troop ship that I went across the Pacific Ocean on and spent 3 weeks on board that ship. And one day on board that ship, the wind got up blowing real hard. The old bow of the ship was coming up out of the water and then going plunging way down in. The old stern was coming up out of the water, and those old propellers were just churning the water like that. And really, there's a whole lot of vibration on board that ship. And besides that, stem to stern, you also had that constant rolling back and forth, and we were catching ourselves every once in a while, catching ourselves from falling. They let us off the troop ship at Incheon, and they put us on one of those South Korean trains, and we went from Incheon over to Seoul, South Korea, over to the army base that they had for the men. We really wondered if we were going to make it home or not, because at that time we didn't know what we were going to be doing. It turned out I was a combat medic in North Korea. In Korea, about the only way you could advance there was just to take one mountain right after another mountain. It was muddy and wet. It was right up on the front lines, and we were just waiting to attack or for the enemy to attack, the Chinese or the North Koreans to attack. On the 5th day, October the 4th, 1951, I will never forget that day. We were attacking this mountain, and I was helping carry another wounded man off of the battlefield, and that was when the Chinese soldier started shooting at us. I got shot in the calf of my right leg. It hurt, and I mean to tell you, it hurt when I was shot. And I knew immediately that I was shot, and I fell down on the ground, dropped the stretcher that I was helping to carry. The man that I was helping to carry was wounded worse than me, so they took him back to the battalion aid station, back to where we launched the attack that morning. They took him back first, carried him back to the battalion aid station. I couldn't walk at all. So I just laid out. I just laid out there on the battlefield about 2 hours with all that shooting going on around me. I just laid out there until these two medics came back. Well, I was afraid that the Chinese were going to maybe counterattack. That's what was going through my mind. They might counterattack and capture me, and then I'd be a prisoner of war. And I kind of worried, concerned about that. Well, I knew that they were going to come back and get me, because American soldiers don't do things like that. They don't go off and leave the wounded men laying out there unless something interferes that they cannot make it back. But I was pretty sure these two medics were going in. But anyway, they had to carry me back. and there wasn't any litters, any stretchers available. And so I put my arms around their shoulders, and they put their arms around my back of me, and they just carried me, literally carried me back that way. You know, this is my Purple Heart that I was given. You've heard of PTSD, and I went through that. I had some problems with that. Well, everybody who has PTSD has problems, but back in the Korean days and back in World War II, the veterans, the doctors, the medical field didn't know what that was at that time. They didn't know how to treat it. And we just had to suffer through it. It's what we had to do. Oh, I would have bad nightmares. I would wake up. Some of the time I'd wake up, some of the time I wouldn't wake up. My wife told me a couple of different times that she woke up with my choking her. I wasn't using my hands to choke her, but she said I had the crook, my elbow around her neck and was pulling my arm like that. And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that I was having a nightmare, and I didn't know I was accidentally choking her. I had problems with PTSD for about six years.
And so you just went away, or did you get help, or what?
No, there wasn't any help in those days for it. So I just outlasted it, I guess. I'm glad that I was in the Army. I didn't want to be in Korea or in combat. But I just am thankful I don't have to go through it again. And I feel sorry for the people, men and women both, who have to go through combat.